Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today we've got something very, very special happening. I've got a guest chef doing all the work for me. His name is Toombs, he is the curry guy. Yay!
So good to be here.
Right, we're going to make naan bread.
Alright. So you got this all started yesterday?
I made this yesterday.
Right.
Okay, it's yesterday and Dan asked me to prepare the dough for the naan bread ready for today, if you see what I mean. So I've got 250 grams of self-raising flour, 1 egg, 125 ml of whole milk, 125 ml of water, a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and optional a teaspoon of black onion seeds. So first thing to do is add the water to the milk and the egg, and the salt and the sugar and the optional black onion seeds. Give those a quick whisk. Now I'm going to use this, I don't know what it's called, but it'll make it easy for us to add the flour. So the flour just goes in gradually, a bit at a time. And when you've got a nice smooth batter with no lumps, I'll just remove the paddle and install the dough hook to give it a bit of a knead, because this is incredibly wet and I don't fancy doing it by hand. Captain. Now I'm going to transfer it to this bowl. And we'll just cover that tightly and leave it overnight, and maybe it will ferment. I don't know if it's meant to, but that'll be ready today. Tomorrow, really.
Alright. So you got this all started yesterday?
I made this yesterday.
Right. So as you can see, that's a little bit wet to be using. And that's the way we wanted it, to sit overnight, just like that. Just let those glutens get to know each other. And you could do this. This is a curry house recipe, so they make this up on a whim if they need to. If they get some big groups in and they don't have enough naan dough, they can make that up and it's usable now. You know, as soon as you make it.
Okay.
But what they would do is they'd add a tiny bit of baking powder.
Right.
Just a little bit, just maybe a half teaspoon or so.
Okay.
Right. Did you explain how this can be upscaled and everything as well?
No.
All right. So the whole idea behind this recipe is you're using baker's measures. So if you're using 250 grams of flour, you want to use 250 milliliters of liquid. Right. So it's always 50-50. So if I were making 12, this is enough to make about 4 naans. If I were making 12 naans, I'd use maybe a liter of liquid. That includes the eggs that you used, the maybe you use 3 eggs instead of 1, okay, and the milk and the water, and then you'd use about a kilo of flour. So it all kind of goes the same, just kind of upscaled a bit depending on how many you want to make. This is the way you want it to be runny and not usable when you start. Let sit overnight and it really becomes much better and it just works, the dough works much better. Alright, so I'm just adding just a little bit, I'm just doing this by eye, right? Mm-hmm. The most important thing is that it does not stick to my fingers. So I'm going to pour this out now. So I've got this one ball here, I'm just going to work this into a nice usable ball, and as you can see it's not sticking to my fingers anymore. Oh, it's sticky, but it's not sticking to my fingers. Just going to press that down, and what we want here is we don't need a rolling pin. We should be able to just drum beat this down to a nice flat naan. Sometimes it helps to put a little bit of oil on it, and I would normally do this in my tandoor. I got a tandoor at home which I use for naans.
Didn't you bring it?
Oh, I wish I could have. It would have been great. But see, there we have a nice rolled out naan. Now what you want to remember is if you want the bubbles to be quite big, you leave it quite fat. If you want them to be small but lots of them, which is kind of what I like. Yeah. Do you have a roller? Do you have any kind of a roller? Sure. I'm not going to make this too big. I am going to make it just a little bit bigger than it was. It's a nice one-person naan. Alright, so we're going to set that back on there and let the heat do its job. So we just need to leave it on there a little bit longer so that the bubbles start coming up.
Oh yeah. Oh, great bubbles.
This takes about 2 minutes per naan, about the same amount of time as in a tandoor. Look at that. That's really nice.
Okay, so we had a bit of problem with the thing we cooked it on. Yeah.
However, I think you're going to find this just fine.
Oh, it's nice and soft.
Yeah.
The flavour of that dough.
It's so easy.
That is actually better than many naans I get in curry houses.
Well, especially if it's a takeaway and you have to put it in those packages, bring it home. By the time it's home, it's soggy anyway.
Right, Dan's on his way home, so I've got some naan dough left over. I'm just going to have another go using a different pan. Well, a proper pan. Stainless steel one, not non-stick. The idea is you want your dough to stick to the pan. So I'm just going to try that. And we slap it down into the hot pan. Messed it up there a bit. So we've got lots of little bubbles going on there, and I'm just going to see if it's stuck. Hey, it's stuck. So I'm going to turn it over to expose the other side to the gas flame and try and get it cooked that way. So I'll just paint it with the garlic ghee and sprinkle it with salt, and that's done. Naan.
Oh yeah, let's start with the naan. It looks lovely.
Oh,
is this the dough you were making yesterday?
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Naan dough.
Yeah, you said I've got to make the naan dough. I was thinking about the chain of restaurants, you know.
Okay, so this is really why I got Dan to come down here and work in my kitchen, because he's going to show me how to make perfect rice.
Yes, I hope so. I like that. That sounds like a great plan.
I always mess up rice. I just haven't got a clue.
All right, well, that's good to hear. So I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, excellent.
This is a no-fail recipe. I've been making it for years, and literally, it's so easy. So yeah, let's get started.
Yay.
So I normally do this just by eye. Once you've done it a few times, you won't need to use a measuring cup.
Right.
All right. Well, for this, we're going to do it with a measuring cup. I'm going to put about a cup, 1 cup of rice into this bowl here.
That's 18,700 grains.
Yeah, roughly.
Approximately.
It is 185 grams though. So that will feed 2 people.
Yep.
All right, so you just double it if you need to, or take it down if you need to. Now, rice, the best way to cook rice, you need to have it one part rice to 1.5 water. But before we do that, we're going to actually rinse this rice. So we need to rinse this rice quite a lot to get rid of all of the starch that's on it. Yeah? So do you want to do that now?
Yep.
All right. So I've poured some water in there. And as you can see, when I move my fingers around in there, move the grains of rice around, it turns quite milky. And so that milky water needs to be poured out. That's all the starch that's on the rice. And I'm going to do this. I've seen some chefs do it like about 20 times. I don't get that starch.
Really?
But I do do it a good 3 or 4 at least. Just so the rice is starting to, so the water is starting to run quite clear. That's still a little bit too milky. Do some more. The starch is what makes rice stick together. So you want to get that off as much as possible. And then, I think this will be the last time I do it. As you can see, it's quite a lot clearer now. Still a little bit of starch in there, but I think it'll be fine. And I'll pour that out. Then I'm just going to fill this up. So we'll get one more rinse, but I'm just going to let that sit there in the sink for about a half hour before we start cooking. Alright, so we've got this rice. It's been soaking there for a good half hour. And we're just going to add that to the pan. And to that, rice always needs 1 part rice to 1.5 water. So we got our rice in there. And that was a cup of rice when we started. So I've got a cup of water here, and I'll use another half as well. This will never fail you, this recipe. It's from my cookbook, The Curry Guide, the red one. And all we're going to do now, I'm going to put a knob of butter in there. This is totally optional. If you want to give this some more flavors, you might want to do. I'm not going to do it today, but you can put some cinnamon stick, cloves, different things that are going to make it give it some flavors of the spice. So I need to turn this on to high now. So you need to have a tight fitting lid, which we've got right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there too. That's also optional. You can just do this with rice, nothing else but rice and water. I just like a little bit of salt in my rice there. Now, the thing is, you always want to make sure that the rice and water measure does not go past about a third. So you want it to only fill a third of your pan. If it's going up to half, get a larger pan. All right? And we're just going to cover this now. And when that comes to a boil, we're going to turn it off the heat. We're going to let it sit there, no peeking. We're just going to let it sit there with the lid on for 40 minutes. And in 40 minutes, it will be perfect.
Won't it be cold?
No, it'll just be really hot. It'll be perfect.
Yeah.
It actually steams in its own liquid because the liquid won't be gone. When it comes to a boil, there'll still be hot water in there. So when you let it sit there for 40 minutes, it soaks in all that water.
Right.
And it's spot on.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll see. I trust this man.
Right, so it's come to a nice big bubble. The bubbles are starting to rise to the top. I'm going to turn it off now. Just take it right off the heat. We're just going to let it sit there and cook in its own steam for 40 minutes.
Okay, the rice is done, so we're going to have a quick taste test. And apparently, after 40 minutes, take the lid off, and then it'll stop.
40 minutes.
It'll start cooling down, and you can leave it out for 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes, very safely. And then what you want to do, if you're not going to be serving it right away, let's say you're having friends around in the evening, put it in the fridge, get it cooled off as quickly as you can, and then just heat it up right at the last minute, either by frying it or putting it into the microwave. It'd be fine as well. Now, I want to point something out here. You don't want to just start going in it. Basmati rice will start to, it'll just become mushy if you go at it too strongly. So you want to just kind of touch it like that. So we're not just going crazy with it. We're just barely moving. If I were to go like that, it would fall apart in a second.
That's what I do.
Right. So that's one of the things
that's why I get mushy rice.
Yes. And so this should be rice now that is just like completely.
Yeah. Stop messing about.
Yeah.
It smells fantastic. Oh yeah.
It's not sticky. It's all, the grains are whole. That recipe has never ever let me down.
And it's a bit buttery as well.
Yeah, just a tiny bit of butter. Obviously, you could do a lot with rice, but I like to keep it plain if I'm cooking it and like serving it with a curry like we're going to do today. If I'm just having rice, obviously, I'm going to put a lot more spice in it, and some more ghee and garlic and you name it. But yeah.
Magic.
That's it.
Perfect rice.
Perfect rice every time.
Yay. And now it's taster time again with Mrs. KeefCooks.
Again.
Oh, you got to try the perfect rice, of course.
It does look perfect.
That's
for sure. That's right, leave it where it is. It's right.
It is. It's amazing. It's just, you know, normally when you make rice, when I make rice, if you've kept it overnight in the fridge, it'll solidify and get lumpy. But this hasn't at all. Every grain is separate, and I haven't done anything to that except whack it in the microwave. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Links in the description for Dan's books, and subscribe to his channel and make this, and thank you for watching. See you next time.